Welcome back to another lesson of the Logos and Letters. My name is Liam, and we're going to proceed on with this. So we've spoken about how contraries don't have an intermediate. Contraries aren't, they don't reciprocate like relatives, okay? So we've defined those things, but now we need to treat this idea. All right, so far what he's said is that good and evil do not have a middle ground, right? Now for the Christian listening to this, I go, what? That's not the case. Sinners move towards saints, and someone who's saintly can then become a sinner again. It's not impossible. So that doesn't line up with their view. And the fact that either goodness or evil has to necessarily belong, or underlie if you want, is an interesting idea too, and he clarifies all of this. I sort of teased at the end of that lesson that there could be something, it could be its own thing, there could be a rule, and we're going to get to it. Okay, I wanted to prepare you for the whiplash, because so far, we teach it how we see it, teach it how we read it, and he's making some bold claims that don't seem to match up with our understanding of the world. And that's one of the awesome things about reading Aristotle, is that you get some of these moments of like whiplash. Okay, so you're about to experience one. Right? So sometimes they need to underlie, they need to necessarily underlie one of them, but sometimes they don't. Right? Dege is you know what? It's here at this point. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, let it be known. Let the history book show. This dege, this dege has broken the camel's back. I'm gonna have to start planning after this a series that teaches Greek grammar, syntax, rhetoric, and something else, because I just always am fighting myself to launch into these sorts of explanations about how particles work and their combination and all these other things. So yeah, I'm gonna have to start a series of that, and I'll do that sooner rather than later. But for now, let me just stick to the logic. Okay, so he's addressing the idea that sometimes I don't necessarily have to belong. Touton estiti anameson pantos, right? Of these, there is some middle ground for them, right? Interesting. Let's see an example of this. There is some middle ground for some. Anameson pantos, ti anameson, right? Hoyon nosos kai hu giaya and somati zdoyu perfuke genestai. So he's saying, as we know, naturally it comes about that sickness and health come about in the body of an animal. En somati zdoyu, right? Kai anakayon ge thatron huparkan toi tu stoyu somati noson hugiayan, right? So it's necessary, right, that for the body of an animal, you've either got sickness or health underlying it, all right, belonging to it. Huparkan can mean like belong or underlie. Let's continue there. Kai periton de kai artion arithmu kate goraitai. So what is predicated of number? What's something that we know of number? So we can say equal or unequal, like we did in chapter 6. That's a defining feature of quantity. But there's another one. Can anyone think of two contraries in number before I translate it? If you've already translated it, then you already know. But what is it? Equal and unequal. There's something else that we say of number, and they're contraries. You may have guessed it. it is odd and even, right? Periton and artion, okay? Odd and even. Or even and odd, as he writes it. Kai anakaion ge tataron toi arithmoi huparkai. So one of these has to underlie or belong to a number, to any particular number. It's going to be, equal or unequal, or odd or even, okay? Equal and unequal is between two different, right? But contraries speak of the one, doesn't it? So odd and even, right? Odd or even is spoken of in relation to this one number, okay? It's one number here, whereas equal and unequal is speaking about two. You can see that relative relationship explained, a relative and contrary relationship explained by these two different pairs. So for these things, like being healthy or being sick or being odd or being even, there is no middle ground. Right? So you're either one or the other. So let's look at the things that have the exception, that rule that I teased at the end of the last lesson. All right, of these, there is some middle ground. Anameson, hoyon melan kai lukon, right? So black and white. En somati perfuke genestai. So inner body can come about. So we think of black feathers, white feathers. We think of black fur, white fur. We even think of like I guess would cuttlefish be a good example here? A cuttlefish and some octopus and chameleons too. They have those. What are they called? Chromatophores. Yes, chromatophores. Like they can come about naturally. Right? But listen here, look. And it is not necessarily necessary that one or the other of them belong to a body. So if we consider like a painting or a mural as a body, a single body, a substance, I know he speaks about animals here, doyu, but you could add it to the mural, but it's not necessary that one or the other, right? It's not necessary that the cuttlefish flash black and white with their chromatophores. I think I'm saying that right. And he's addressing this idea here, right? So, right? So not everything is either white or black, right? Kai faulon, right? So de kai spudayon, right? Now he's moving on to good and evil. I might just pause it here just for a second here, because I want to address this. Like we can get phayon and ochron, right? These grey and sallow colours, almost yellow in a way, in between white and black. All right, so we have two species of contraries here. This is the takeaway. This is the key takeaway. Two species of contraries. One species uses the rule that that there is an intermediary, and the other one does not have an intermediary. One has ti anameson, the other one has uden anameson. So ti anameson here, and I'm sure it says uden anameson up here somewhere. Uden estin anameson, yeah. So the ones that do not have the middle ground, you go from that state to that state like instantly, okay? Health to sickness, and it's only one or the other, and we don't say some middle ground. Odd or even, it's either one or the other. You add a number, you take away a number, it goes to the other one immediately, and it's either one or the other. It has to belong necessarily. Anakayon, right? Anakayon getatoron huparkain, right? And the other one, there is a middle ground. You can move from one state to the other state and go through the the intermediary path. Okay, now for this I'm gonna indulge myself here of why he says anameson, right? Anameson, because you might think, why not en mesoi? For those who are studying Greek, know any Greek? Why not en mesoi? Right? So en mesoi, and it'd have a little iota subscript here, and and all that. Why not this in the middle? If he wants to speak about middle, intermediary, why not en mesoi? He says ana meson. Notice how he's speaking about moving through one state to another. Ana does that best. Ana with the accusative case here, as he's got it, where is an example of it? It's like 100. Ana meson in the accusative has multiple senses, right? Xenophon uses it all the time in the Anabasis. It has this sense of going through something. It can mean temporal, like ananuktos, like through the night, or nightly, or nocturnally. But ana with the accusative also has this sense of a distribution, right? Something's distributed throughout that thing. So upon, throughout, are accurate translations of anameson. So I know I'm saying in the middle, but it can be throughout the middle or upon the middle, right? Interesting. I think that's why he's chosen this preposition with this usage, because for the Greek mind, it means like something spangled throughout, right? Some path that is bespangled with different things. So that's what I'm confident is the case. Okay, and that helps you understand this sense of the intermediates and the sense of contraries, that some have this middle ground that you can walk, and the others you just simply like flipping a card, all right? This two-dimensional card. You're either one face or the other. You're either face down or face up, okay? But the others, there's a path. So yeah, I'll leave that there. Okay. Hopefully that was either interesting or helpful or useful. Okay, so we'll build on that. We'll speak about good and evil, and notice how he changes his word here. Phaulon de kaispudaion. Before he was saying agathon and chakon, but now he's saying phaulon kaispudaion. I have an idea about that too. Other people have ideas about it too. But I think it's moral. I'm just gonna jump the gun here and I think he's speaking about moral good, and up here he's speaking about like objective good, like the way. But even then in Genesis, the Bible doesn't say agathosein. It says kalosein, right? Right, kalos esti, like it is good with kalos. Interesting, much to discuss. Hope you've enjoyed it half as much as I have. Hope you've enjoyed it twice as much as I have. That would be amazing. So I'm going to leave it there. We'll probably finish this in the next one, or get close to it. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. As always, si semper fortis in opere tuo. My name is Liam, and I'll see you next time.